Hello. The numbers are out and they aren't good when it comes to the need for food in Western Pennsylvania. The Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank says they're distributing food at record levels. A representative is here to explain why. And Pittsburgh Pride festivities are right around the corner. Organizers are here to detail all the events and the best place to view the march and parade. Plus, a local playwright and student of August Wilson is premiering his own latest work. Mark Clayton Southers is here to tell us all about the Coffin Maker. So pull up a chair and meet us at the corner. Intersection starts right now. Hello, I'm Lisa Smith, Director of Community Impact at KDKA Plus and the host of Intersections. Here in Western Pennsylvania, more people are food insecure now than they were during the pandemic. The increased need is across the board and hitting children and African Americans especially hard. That's according to a new report released by Feeding America. It shows a 25% increase in need across the 11-county area served by the Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank. Godfrey is the Vice President of Equity, People, and Culture with the Food Bank, and he's joining us today. Welcome to Intersections.
Oh, thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me on.
Yeah, so, you see these numbers, and we had talked earlier about this increase in need, and I said, are these numbers surprising to you?
Well, we have seen over the past few years the levels still increasing. The report of Feeding America came out in 2022. That's the most current report of all the data from 2022. And since then, 2023 and 2024, we've seen those numbers increase and the need increase.
Yeah. So when we talk about the need, when we talk about food insecurity, what exactly does that mean?
Yeah, so it's important to define what food insecurity means. It's the lack of access to enough food to live a healthy, active lifestyle. And we're talking about families who may go throughout the month and miss meals or have to stretch their food options throughout the month in order to suffice or for the opportunity to get their food assistance from the local food pantry. Or it may be lack of access to healthy, nutritious food.
Yeah. So you said that those numbers were from 2022 and they were high. We're 2 years later now. So what have we been seeing over the last couple of years?
Well, we've been seeing, again, the increase in need. We started to see it with increasing rent prices, groceries, prices going up, utilities, travel, so gas prices are going up. And we're seeing families having to make a choice between whether they're going to pay their utilities or to purchase groceries for food on the table. And sometimes that's a hard choice because you have to make those options. And what happens is that, in addition to that, some families have lost their threshold to qualify for SNAP programs and food assistance programs. So the reliance on those programs that have gone away since after pandemic, these programs are going away. They're really looking to make these options between how they're going to provide food on their table and pay their necessity prices.
Yeah. So the food bank has seen an increase, right? Like more people are coming to the food bank for.
We've seen an increase, absolutely. We've in a month of April alone. So this is 2024. So this is a year and a half since this report. In the month of April alone, we've seen the highest number of food distributed in just a month. We distributed 4 million pounds of food, and that poundage of distribution is higher than any month that we've seen during the pandemic, and even higher than we've seen during the holiday season, which is our most busiest season in November.
Yeah. And the other thing that I thought really stuck out about those numbers were the impact on African Americans and children. 1 in 3 for African Americans are experiencing food insecurity. What does that look like?
Yes, that's a 33% increase from the previous year, the previous report. And those numbers are in the Pittsburgh region area. And that can be also due to not only economic factors, which we talked about as far as paying for rent, utility, and housing, but they all can also be combined with systemic factors that come into play. If you're looking at our unemployment rate in the region, unemployment's relatively low, but for families of color, they're still doubly unemployed for positions and employment. So you're talking about lower income opportunities to live a healthy, substantial life.
Yeah. So then that trickles down to the kids, then I'm guessing, because the kids' numbers are also high, like what?
Yes, it's 1 in 6.
Yeah.
And 1 in 6, and that's also a 33% increase. And you want to think about that in relation to many families rely on school programs, before and after school programs that they can feed their young children. But in summertime, those they don't have that consistent source of food. And then also, for some of these food assistance programs, free school lunch programs are going away.
Yeah.
So it's having that impact to all families.
Yeah. So we only have a couple minutes left, but what can people do, and what can the community do to help reverse this trend? Well,
for the Greater Pittsburgh Food Bank, obviously the best approach for us and the best source for us is financial support. If any donation is very helpful to get the food out that meets the need, that demand for the food. But in addition, it is communities coming together to understand that families may need referrals to resources to get from paying the utilities, paying a prescription, paying other options. And if we can connect these resources and make them more available to families so they can find those opportunities to put the food on the table, that's important. And the third part of this is food advocacy for food policy programs. If we can elevate the voice of the families that are experiencing food insecurity, of their needs, then we can help some of these food assistance programs come back that are needed for those families.
Yeah. The other thing is the food deserts.
Yes.
That also plays a role, would you say?
That does play a role when you have to make choices of going to the nearest food grocery store for healthy produce. You have to, it's a farther distance to travel. So we work with community partner organizations. We have over 1,000 partner community organizations that we partner with in the local communities that either are food pantries, or soup kitchens that if we partner with them, we can supply them the food that they can then get the access down to that level. We also work with them to get grants that they may need to ramp up and build up to provide that food and resources needed to that community. So increasing partnerships is very important for us.
Yeah. Well, we really appreciate you coming and sharing this information with us, and hopefully some of those activities and things that people can do will start to make a difference. Thanks for coming. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Thanks.
All right. Well, coming up, we are a week away from Pittsburgh Pride events. Some of the organizers are here with all the details. Intersections. We'll be right back. Well, from music to marches to rainbows, there are big plans for Pittsburgh Pride 2024. The theme this year is Still We Rise, a Pride Revolution. It takes place at several locations around Pittsburgh from May 31st through June 2nd as the kickoff to Pride Month. Here to tell us all about what's happening are several of the organizers. Dina Stanley is the founder of Trans Uniting. Dwayne Binion is co-founder of True Tea Pittsburgh, and Jim Shepard is co-creator of Qberg. Welcome all of you to Intersections.
Thank you.
So good to have you.
Yes.
So this is a collective planning, right? You call it Pittsburgh Pride Group.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about, Dina, Pittsburgh Pride Group, how it kind of came together.
So, with everything happening with the fall of Delta, we wanted to make sure that it was a place, a space for everyone to thrive and have a good time. So me and a few of the other folks within community came together and said, you know, instead of it just being about one person running this whole entire event, the community is going to come together and we're going to do this. So a few agencies came together and we started doing it in 2021 with 10,000 people. And last year we seen over 200,000 people. It was amazing.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So that collaboration has been effective. it sounds like.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're all volunteers at this point, and we all do our little part to make sure that it is successful. But the most important part about everything is that it's welcoming for everyone. You know, that every person in Pittsburgh is welcome into that space and know that they're loved.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the theme. Still We Rise, a Pride Revolution. Dwayne, what do we mean by that?
So by Still We Rise, the very first Pittsburgh Pride Revolution, it was a revolution, right? We were reclaiming our power. We were taking back control of many missed years of pride and our community members feeling included as part of that. So Still I Rise, there's still work to be done, right? We have made lots of strides. There has been lots of effort put into this, but there's still work to be done. And now I think that as we gain more visibility and more numbers and the community joining us, that is becoming a lot more easy to do that. So we're looking to keep growing.
Absolutely. Just to piggyback off that a little bit, also with everything that is happening in the country today, you know, we're still persevering through all of that. You know, we are still here and we are still fearless. So that was a part of it as well.
Yeah. So, Jim, it's been about 51 years, I think, of
Yes.
Pride events here in Pittsburgh. Not saying you're 51,
No, I'm not.
but kind of give me a sense of, you know, kind of where things stand. You know, what are you happy with? What do we really want to see?
So you mentioned a little bit of the history of Pittsburgh Pride. Pittsburgh Pride started in 1973. So here we are 51 years later. That first Pride only had like 10, maybe 20 people walking on the sidewalks. They walked all the way from Point State Park to Shenley Park. It was really hot and that's really far. But they were determined to keep going, and Pride has kept going in different forms and different ways since then. And something that's so remarkable about Pittsburgh Pride is that it has evolved and changed. There was a certain kind of pride in the early 2000s, and that was maybe appropriate for the time. But you know, here we are in 2024, and it's grown to be this diverse collection of people putting it together, but also welcoming it in. We have, you know, people of color, the trans community, all these beautiful faces that are part of planning Pride and being in Pride. And I think that's something that's amazing, and we keep going forward with it.
Yeah.
With a true community.
Yeah. So we have a few minutes left, but I want to make sure we kind of get into, you know, the nitty gritty of what's going to be happening. So on Friday the 31st, that's kind of like your kickoff, right? Tell us a little bit about what's happening that day at Allegheny Commons Park.
Allegheny Commons Park West.
West.
Yes. We will be having a great time. You know, you're able to bring your kids out. We have a children's village for the 2 days. And also we will be welcoming the First Ladies of Disco, featuring Martha Wash and Linda Crifford. It's going to be amazing. Our theme this year, our thought, around that this year was intergenerational. So we wanted to make sure that we brung somebody in for the golden era folks to have a good time, you know, and vibe like how we are going to be doing. So on Friday, we will welcome our #1 Beyonce impersonator, Riley Knox, and the First Ladies of Disco. We'll have a host of community acts as well. We have over 100 community acts throughout the 3 days.
Wow.
So there will be a lot of folks on those stages throughout the day, and just activities and community, and just having a good time.
Yeah. And the march is on Saturday.
Yes.
Tell us about that real quickly.
We do expect there to be about 85,000 marchers or watchers. So the parade steps off downtown at the Greyhound station at noon, and it goes from the Greyhound station through downtown across the Andy Warhol Bridge to the festival.
Right. And then you go to back to the park, right, for more activities. And Tamar? Braxton?
Tamar Braxton. Yes, so we will be welcoming Tamar to Pittsburgh. It's going to be an amazing show. It is all free. We do have a VIP option if folks are interested in that. They could visit us at pittsburghpride.com for further information around that. But I hope everybody comes out to see Tamar because she is going to blow the house away.
And then, of course, Sunday, things kind of wrap up in Bloomfield with more events, 30 performers there, hip hop, rock, more, a lot. So it sounds like a wonderful celebration. We're out of time, but I'm sure everybody's going to be there. Topping 200,000.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you all so much for being with us. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next year.
All right, thank you.
All right.
All right.
Well, coming up, raising the curtain for the world premiere of a play by a Pittsburgh playwright. Intersections, we'll be right back. Well, there is a brand new play coming soon to the Pittsburgh Public Theater. It's called The Coffin Maker, and it takes a look at African Americans in 1849 Oklahoma, involving a bounty hunter, a fugitive, and the title, as the title indicates, a coffin maker. It's written by Pittsburgh's own Mark Clayton Southers. He's joining us today, along with Marya C. Kaminsky, the artistic director for the Pittsburgh Public Theater. Welcome, both of you, to Intersections.
Thank you for having us.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. So, you know, Mark, you've written, what, over 20 plays, you've produced and directed and all of this. Tell us a little bit about The Coffin Maker.
Well, it's a period piece, of course, and I wrote it with a good friend of mine, the late Anthony Chisholm, who was a good friend, and he tells these great stories, you know, and it's like sitting around an ancestor, and we lost him during COVID, but he always talked about wanting to do a Western and be in a Western. So I wrote it with him in mind, and it just took off, and you know, so it's a bouillabaisse. There's a lot of stuff in it.
Yeah.
You know, but I try to address things that I think still continue to affect people of color, and show some of the origins and some of the continuations of things. And then some people who made some bold decisions 150 years ago, 175 years ago, whatever, yeah.
So, I mean, when you're talking like mid-1800s, you know, that's like right before the Civil War and the end of slavery. So things were really exciting, I guess you could say, maybe around that time. So why did you pick that time, especially for your cycle?
Well, I picked that time because it's actually in Indian territory, which was kind of exciting because before Oklahoma became Oklahoma. But, you know, a lot of times, I learned about our African American history and our African history during the plays of Rob Penny with Country Repertory Theater. That's where I got my education, not in the school system. And a lot of times, a lot of folks have to go by what they see on TV or in the movies. So now that the internet is what it is and social media is what it is, people are finding out a lot more things that we never would have known had it not been for this, you know. Same with violence towards black men. We know more about it because of everybody has a camera now on their cell phone. So I wanted to tell some stories, imaginative, also things that actually have taken place, and try to weave them together to tell some unique stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Marya, this is a world premiere.
It is.
Tell me a little bit about why the Pittsburgh Public wanted to, you know, take this show.
Oh, thank you for asking. We're really honored to be able to host the world premiere. I have been a fan of Mark's plays for a long time. I've been here about 8 years, and the very first of his plays I got to see was Savior Samuel, which was amazing. And then earlier this year, Bluegrass Mile. So I have been a fan of his work, and you know, not only that the plays are great and always entertaining, there's always humor, but there is a sense of structure and character and soul in Mark's plays that I think are really rare. And what Coffin Maker, I mean, being a Western, right? We did not know Beyonce was going to come out with her cowboy era.
You know?
But you know, it's in the zeitgeist. But there's also little known history about that, right? Like we've been doing research, and 1 in 4 cowboys in the American West were black.
Yeah.
Right? But we don't get to see that very often. So be able to set it into this interesting time, but also use Mark's superpowers for character. There's love in it, there's humor, and there is a wild plot. There are people passing out. There are like comedic moments alongside some really brutal is a word that comes to mind, but I think some really candid American truth about our history.
And we just saw some of the images of the set kind of coming together.
Yeah.
Tell us about that set. Like, is the set, what does that kind of give to and lend to the telling of the story?
Well, one, I want to mention that the set was designed by Tony Ferrari, and it's just his first. He just retired, and it's his very first time at the Pittsburgh Public. So I'm actually more excited about that. I hate to say it, but it's exciting. It helps to transport the audience member to that time period, and that's where the whole page-to-stage process is so beautiful, because everybody has their hand in the pot. The light designer, the sound designer, the costumes, the sound, everything is to help transport that audience member there so they get caught up in the story and the acting and the fight choreography, the movement, the blood, everything, special effects, and it helps transport them there. So for 2 hours in the theater, they're in this world. And that's what our job as artists is to do collectively.
Yeah. So we want to make sure that everyone knows more about this. It is again called The Coffin Maker, and you can see it starting Wednesday, May 29th through Sunday, June 16th at the Pittsburgh Public Theater at the O'Reilly Theater. And of course, there are more details at ppt.org. Thank you both so much for being with us. We appreciate it. And I think this is going to be another hit. Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. I'll have my last word when we come back. Nutrition. When we talk about nutrition, we usually don't take the time to think through what nutrition is. It can be our environment, our passion, our loved ones, and of course food. But not all food is nutritious or has a high nutritional value. The same goes for all environments, passions, or people. So being intentional about our nutrition is important. Having access to good nutrition is vital, because the answer to what nurtures us gives us life. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Intersections.